Sorry, coming in late. What's the format here? We just asking questions?
So I'm going to do a quick run through the presentation here in a sec,
Okay.
and then you can ask questions at the end, or there's also a box here in case you have like a little further in-depth questions. You can write them down, that way we can take them back, kind of reassess as a team and go through them.
First, thank you.
Yep. The first few slides are just existing pictures of kind of the style of everything on the site, as well as pictures of the site where this is going to be proposed here at the corner down south.
I wouldn't show you our beautiful gardens and how they got torn, or our dog park.
The gardens will still be on site, being relocated
Where?
to the
How
end
about
of
we
the site.
start the meeting?
So maybe
so
we could go
everyone
through the
can follow
presentation
along.
first?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do the
let's do that.
presentation and that will
And
save
then
the
go for
hammering.
questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the first part, I don't know if you want to talk about the rezone and everything at the
Yes, we
beginning.
want to talk about all that.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So this is Chris, he's with Atwell Hicks, this is the civil engineer for the project.
Yeah, so we would be looking to rezone to a different zoning, bringing the full site up to current zoning standards, and then that would allow us to build the additional building. Initially, we looked at splitting that off, but in talks with the city, they were more in support of rezoning the full site.
You need to speak up a little, honey. Russ in the back.
Got it. We're looking to rezone the full site. The city is in support of that motion. We were originally going to split off the southern portion, but the city pushed us into a full site rezone, and that would require us to bring the full site up to current zoning standards.
So why do we need to do zoning?
Because it will allow for additional units.
So currently, the way it's zoned, you can't build anymore, right?
Correct.
Oh,
And you have yet to get your permit to rezone, right?
We're in, this meeting is
This
part
is
of that
part of the
process.
process.
Yeah,
uh,
for the site plan approval.
Okay.
how long do you think it'll take you to build that?
And that's part of the general contractor, once it gets bid, and the general contractor is in charge of timeline and means and methods of construction. That's not the architect or the civil engineer.
Okay, so the rezoning is, so you can put more people in this space than is allowed currently. Do I understand that
In the current zone, yes.
in the current zone?
Yes.
Thanks.
And taller?
It's going to be the same height as the rest of the buildings.
Tall.
Why don't
Yes.
we do the presentation and then let's do questions.
So this is discussing, so for the proposed zone, that's what the density is. So the current zone allows for a certain number of units per acre, and this rezone allows for a different number of units per acre. So it allows us to expand and build that and add people per this lot. And then for the parking, so the city currently doesn't require any parking for additional units because they're very resident forward, but obviously we want parking for the new residents, so we're proposing additional parking for the residents on this site so that they have a place to park, which includes bike spaces, and then there is a required green space amount, and we are still meeting that amongst this entire site because it's a large site. There's trees, all the trees that are being removed due to this will be replaced somewhere else on the site to abide by the city's requirements.
I'm sorry, huh? Who are you?
I'm Jacob Bonacorsi. I'm with the architecture firm DesignTeam Plus.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So this is the proposed floor plan, the overall first floor. So there's a total of 19 units being proposed. Some are first floor units only for ADA, and then some are two-story units that start first and second floor, second, third floor. And then this is second floor, and there's at a couple sides there's zoomed in of the plans. And then the third floor. So the middle unit is a two-story townhouse unit that only is the first 2 stories. So the first unit type, this is a single-story unit. So there's all the units are 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom because those are what everybody's looking for right now. This includes kitchen, living room, everything. And then these units are to abide with the city's 2030 plan. They're fully electric, no gas, and they're going to be with sustainable materials to be very green forward. This is the 2-story unit that goes second and third floor. So all these units have their own personal entry as opposed to a common entry where you're going in one door to split into different units. So this one starts on the first floor, you go up to your main level, and then you have on the third story of the building will be the second story of this unit. And it's a similar floor plan to the first, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, just separated instead of side by side. It's 1 story and then the next. And then the third unit type is the same thing, first and second floor, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And then this and the next two are just some concepts to see that it's going to go with the same kind of look as the rest of the buildings on the site. It's just to gain more residents in the area.
So that's the view from Packard, is it?
Yes.
From Packard?
Yes.
So you don't have any
You're building
photos?
on Packard?
What was that?
You're building on Packard? In the front of the,
Where's the site?
So if Packard is here, this is on the south portion of this site. I can go back to the site plan.
So down at the end of that building?
Yes.
So, okay,
Yep.
okay. So you're not near the street at all?
No, it's still off the street.
Yeah, okay.
So this is going to be the building footprint. So Packard is running here, and this is that pond up in the front right here. And then the road will extend for the parking, and then the building will run along here. And this is the relocated community garden at the south end of the site.
This is the existing sidewalk that's out there, that would stay.
And the new building is the darker gray one.
Yes.
But Heyman will own this. This is Heyman, right?
Heyman is the property manager. They don't own the property. They're the
They don't
property
own that
manager.
property?
Correct. They're the property managers. They don't own the land.
Are they gonna manage this? But somehow they're connected.
It'll still be under the same umbrella. They will manage the property as if it was part of this, because it will be. But they don't own the land.
Who's the owner?
I don't.
Yeah.
It's a,
Who owns it?
it's a single entity LLC. So an investment.
Where
I'm
will
sorry.
your,
So it's either a giant corporation or some sly guy on the side? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say
Can't
I
assume a
would.
sly guy, because that's pre-assumption, so we don't want to do that.
I'm believing everyone's a
Someone that's
sly
been
guy
in the
right now.
community
with
for
what's
a
going
long
on.
time and owns and manages, you know, multifamilies.
Well, because Heyman owns a huge part of this town. Corporation, they own quite a few.
Heyman is the property manager.
That owns, like, runs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
part
the
of this
manager,
town.
don't know. There's a difference.
I'm wondering if you could clarify, like, there's just one piece of it I'm unclear on. So we're talking about how you originally were gonna ask for rezoning of just the south portion, and then you were encouraged to get rezoned the whole site.
Yes.
So what is, where we are right now, what is the current zoning of this district?
R4A, which is still a residential district, and the R4E is what we're rezoning to.
Gotcha,
Which,
so you were originally gonna do just R4E for that southern portion.
correct.
Gotcha, okay, all right, that's what I was
Yeah.
curious
So
about.
this
and what
one,
are you trying to go to? From R4A to what?
R4E, because we were originally going to go to just the next up that gets us the allowable density for the site.
R4B, you were originally gonna go for R4B?
Yes. And the city of Ann Arbor pushed us to go towards R4E because it allows them to maximize the land that they have to get that higher density, because it allows for the highest density.
So this didn't go to planning commission yet,
No.
We've done a pre-site plan approval meeting, and this is part of that process.
but that was with staff, that was not the planning commission, like you didn't go.
It's with staff, yeah.
It was staff, okay,
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about.
So does that mean that when you if it's rezoned to, I don't understand, I don't know the acronyms, but when originally when you were going to rezone just to build there and they encouraged you to expand that zoning, does that mean that building can then be done on other areas here? It's
No.
zoned for other,
So that's the reason. So the current property is within the limits of that density, but splitting off that south portion to rezone it to allow for it, because we couldn't build on it currently because the density wouldn't allow. So splitting off that current portion makes the area of the other portion of the parcel less than what it needs to for the current number of units that live on the property. So rezoning this so that it also lives under that R4E makes this lot dense enough to host the units that are here. Because without it, it doesn't work. So the city said we have to rezone both, bring them both up to the current zoning ordinance in order for it to work.
So what's the current utilization of the property right now?
Of the portion that we're going to be
No,
building
right
on,
now. What utilization are these units at right now? Do you have that information?
I
You're
don't.
saying that you're needing more units to I guess, support the demand out
Mm-hmm.
there. So why are you needing that if you're not understanding what the current utilization is of this property? Because if this property is at 50% utilized, then there might not necessarily be a need for these additional units.
Yeah, I don't have that information. We were brought in by the property manager to work on this, so I don't know if you have the exact numbers or.
The manager should know our capacity.
So you're looking for like the occupancy of
Yeah,
this property?
yeah.
I don't know currently, I would
So currently
say-
we have 134 units, a mix of 2 and 3 bed and 2 baths. Are you looking for like the actual occupancy percentage of what's filled?
Yeah.
Or? Right now, sorry, I just had one of those up. I think we're at 96.75 or 96.5%
Of 150.
of 134.
And then talking.
That's a percentage, not a
Oh,
96. Yeah, 96 or whatever percentage.
So I mean, we're coming off a slow season where we were 98.5% full. We only had 2 apartments left available.
Okay, thank you.
And
So
the city
these-
is looking for additional residential units in the city. That's
Yeah.
one reason why they encourage to increase the zoning
Mm-hmm.
for the whole site.
If you
Yeah.
don't get approval for the parking,
Mm-hmm.
will this project move forward?
They've already approved like the parking. We've already met with them and discussed the parking, that we're not gonna go with 0. We're gonna provide parking for them.
And how many per unit?
For all
is
the
that?
units?
I don't remember how many spaces, but with the parking that's currently on site, they have enough parking. They're over the amount of parking on site, so we're adding additional parking to provide extra spaces next to the units, but there are additional spaces within the existing parking. So there will be enough space for people to park for all the units.
I don't know.
So did we get to the end of this presentation yet?
Yeah, the rest is just the images of the proposed building.
Okay, so we're into questions.
Yes.
Okay.
This R4E, that's only residential, it's not the mixed use that, city council is pushing?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
Did they say, oh, sorry.
where will you stage? Where's your staging area gonna be, and how will you go in and out of that staging area?
So the means and methods of construction is all the general contractor's responsibility. So when they get brought on, they are responsible for all that. We don't comment on that.
Oh, wow.
Just for planning purposes, it'll probably be right at the end of that the existing driveway where we would be
The
expanding.
one on Independence?
No, we wouldn't be coming off of that road. We would keep all construction activity.
Okay, so what are these? Are these rental units? Are those people who will be buying them? Are they condos? What are they?
Apartments.
Apartments?
Yes.
Rental?
Rental apartments, yeah.
I know you said that Ann Arbor wanted more housing, but what they meant by that was affordable housing. It wasn't, because when they start building townhouses, I can tell you right now, the price will just skyrocket, which is gonna affect all of these, the economy. I mean, different things have affected it. I had a $400 increase in my rent in 1 year, and I've been here 12 years, so. I can only imagine what will happen if we have put in townhouses. That's gonna be a rollover.
These are rental, not townhouses.
Rental, not
He said there's gonna be some townhouses.
But they're all rental units.
They're all rental units.
Everything's
They're all
being
rental,
rented.
but that's what I mean, it costs more to do, once we start getting into townhouses, that's a different thing. Those are usually pricier. Than an apartment like this, the townhouse is gonna be more.
You're
So
talking about a
what happens
townhouse
to the
apartment.
pond?
Yes, townhouse
The
apartment.
pond-
But they
No,
have
the pond doesn't
townhouse
get
apartments
touched.
already here.
We
The
do.
pond will not be
These are,
It will
yeah,
not be
some of
touched.
these over here I think are townhouse
Because
apartments.
that's required for the
Next to the
detention.
pond?
Where?
What was that?
I don't, they're
Next
just
to the
expanding
pond?
the pond.
Yes. It's next to behind, so the pond is in. Yeah, so the pond right now is right here, and it goes to about right here, and this building is back in this area here.
Okay, and what about the woods?
Between the housing behind,
Yes.
that all stays as well. The tree line won't be affected by this, between the housing behind and this property.
Some of those trees have been tagged recently. Is it something that's related to this project, or is that separate?
Not as far as I know.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
that was for this project. The city requires all trees on site that could be impacted to be tagged. And that's something we're gonna go through with the full site as
I'm
well.
sorry, Ken. So can you say, what is the purpose of the tagging? What does that indicate about trees that will stay or go?
It doesn't mean anything as far as if they're gonna be removed. It's just the city wants an inventory of all trees on site so that once we do look at, you know, some trees are gonna have to come down for this. You can see, you know, here in the parking area, but the city makes us replace those. It's for every inch that is removed, we have to replace an equal amount. So that's why we have to tag them and size them so we know what we're taking down and then have to replace.
And do you anticipate any trees?
We've had trees on our property that are right adjoining
We're
here,
coming up because it's hard to see.
that are been tagged,
And then she did just.
that are actually on our property, that are not.
So the city does make you tag anything if it's questionable about where it is because, so the roots extend below. So they need an inventory of those as well to see if we would impact the root zone. And ideally, if they're on your property, we're not impacting the root zone.
No, because
Can you please say a little bit about the setbacks to the rear property line? And you mentioned that none of those trees will be affected in your.
No offsite trees should be affected. If you can put the next one. So we've got a 30-foot setback from that rear property line there.
You mentioned a couple of times that the city wants to have perhaps more housing space available. But we've already seen in this area a lot of additional things that have come into the area recently. There's George's across the way, and there's the buildings which are further up on Packard, which have been done recently too. And I know that speaking as a resident, I don't want to see additional traffic and parking and congestion coming into the neighborhood. I'd like for it to be able to retain some of the flavor that it has presently. And so I know that I personally am not excited about this project.
Yeah, good call on the traffic, because it's already gotten so challenging already, hasn't it? And that new place is opening up down here, right by the bar.
Next to Fraser's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge place, much bigger than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
And are they filling in to George's and isn't it right?
Yes, they are.
I don't know what they're charging there.
No, for the parking, there will be one space per unit or 2 spaces per unit.
There won't be one new space per unit, but if you, like, based on the zone.
Totality?
Yes, totality of the parking that exists plus the new parking, there will be one or more spaces per unit.
Okay.
And where will the parking area be? Will it be,
The new parking you're talking?
because the parking right now is behind. So when people pull in, the headlights don't bother the houses across the street.
So there's parking both sides. So there's parking facing the building and facing away from the building.
So facing Packard.
Yeah.
And will the drive in there be from Packard?
The drive-in will be from the existing drive, so you'll drive in still right here and then continue down the existing drive within the apartment complex.
But
to
some
this.
of the parking, the cars will be facing Packard,
Yes.
which will be quite noisy for the houses across the street.
For the parking?
Yeah, because now the parking, people come up and the parking is behind. So that the noise or the headlights don't affect the houses across the street.
No, but they affect the houses on underway, so. Welcome to the club.
Oh,
So are we leaving the tree line?
Yeah, we're
that
gonna
backs
preserve.
up behind Ember and Emerald and.
Yep, we're gonna
Thereabouts.
preserve as many trees as we can. Please,
That's not a yes.
if you fill out these forms, if you have comments, we will pass them on to the city. So I'm gonna pass some of these out. If you have questions, you know, we can obviously answer those. Opinions on the development is more.
So the
We'll pass
housing
it on to the
is
city.
market rate rental, it's not subsidized or, other things?
That's an excellent question.
So do you have any pictures?
Nobody's answering that question.
I said,
She
I'm
said
sorry, I
correct.
said correct. That's correct, it's market rent.
It's it's Margaret. You gotta speak up, honey. You got a big room, we got old people, we can barely hear you.
All right, I'll try.
Margaret Ray Reynolds.
Managed by the same people who manage the thoughts.
Yes, so many the same leasing office.
We encourage it. The city will walk.
All of us would like it on the county, and show city council.
No, that would be fine.
The backup,
Look like from our point of view.
not yet. That'll be the next step. Yeah, because we don't, it's not like developed to get submitted. We only have certain views right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any possibility that you guys could stake out the development? Because I know this has been done before, so that we could put stakes out so we can see where the development is actually going to be.
Like prior to,
Yes.
I don't see that being a problem. I don't know if it will be done, but I don't see it being an issue.
It would be atypical for the
For
city
you
to
guys.
require that, but if you put that on your comment card, we'll pass it on to the city.
So I mean, the biggest problems with this is, of course, we can't really see where the development is going to be.
Yeah.
We understand that you want to preserve the trees, but we also know that trees are going to be taken down anyway. Then you're going to put them up, and I'm not faulting you. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're going to put the trees back in. So what we really want to see is how close is this actually going to be to our places, and how long. I don't think you've talked about the timing of this project. What you're obviously you haven't gone through planning and all of that. Once if this got approved, how long would this take to develop?
That's what. So all of the construction timeline is the general contractor.
And so you can't talk to it at all?
Yeah, because we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say we're at least, say, 8 months away from
Right.
site plan and construction plan approval.
Right.
And then the actual construction could take anywhere from 3 to 8 months, I'd say.
Just to comment on the setback, you said there's a 30-foot setback from the property line?
Correct.
So just so people know, the dog park that's out there, that fence is 50 feet from the property line. So this is going to be much closer to the property line than the dog park fence at the moment.
Oh, and that's pretty close.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be right there.
Yeah, I was
That
out
piece
there
of
with the
property
dog
is
park
in it.
Retired guys have time.
Did you try and get approval for entrance off of Packard to the
What was
other
that?
way?
The city wasn't in favor of that. They didn't.
Yeah, because we haven't been fully approved yet. So this is us taking all of your comments and trying to make the revisions that we can.
So, sorry, can we use one conversation at a time, please?
That's our house,
Yeah.
has lots of old trees and lots of property. Every one of those old trees has got the ribbon on it. If they needed to come down, that would mean we have nothing between Packard and the back of our house except some evergreens. Can we replant? I mean, is it because these big old roots, does that mean you can't then grow other stuff in there? Because, and how would we find out? Because DTE is already letting us know, they're coming, soon. Is that related to you guys? The
No.
notices we're getting, did you know about that?
If DT is doing something, that would be unrelated to
Oh,
us.
okay.
Yeah.
And we would not be able to take down trees that are on your property. The city wouldn't allow that, so.
So it's DT, so it's the same markings that I see on, at the ponds or on our trees, they're the exact same markings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it DTE that determines what needs to go here, or is it the builder?
No.
I can speak to that a little bit. Being a property manager here, I get those emails. I also, as a resident, get those emails.
Right, so what does that mean?
DTE is letting you know they're doing tree trimming to make sure power lines are safe, and that's my understanding of it. I don't think they're taking trees out.
Okay.
Oh, there's a new thing today that came out today. So they
I
actually.
did not see that one yet.
Yeah, so they're going
Okay.
to be installing a recloser,
Whatever that is.
which is, I think, what is going to be over there. So I think they're putting in some new stuff over there. And they'll be putting, I think that's what's going on with the tree tagging. So sorry, everybody, our trees have been tagged around, and we're trying to understand, just because those are closer to our property, Are they related to this project or are they related to DTE? And these are the things that are confusing, of course, as residents, because we don't know what's going on.
That's right.
My understanding is that that has nothing to do with this because this project hasn't gone anywhere yet.
See, that's what I'm saying. But they're still tagging, they said already.
That's DTE.
So just to clarify, we were just informed that the tagging is related to this project.
That's what they said, they have
Yeah,
tagging.
there were dual conversations going on. So
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Can you
They
repeat
said
that?
they're already
There
tagging.
are two things happening. One, as for the site plan, we're required to identify and measure every tree that's on site.
Okay.
So that is being done, and they have like a little metal tag that has a number on it.
Do they have orange markings?
No.
Well, the orange markings are just the DTE then.
Orange markings, it's a ribbon, the ribbon
We have green
and a
markings
thing
on
with a number on it.
Independent, so.
On all of our trees.
There might be some overlap,
Okay.
but as far as I know, we're not marking any trees for removal at this point. It's all just identification.
And then, Chris, there might be additional tree tagging to survey the entire parcel.
Yes.
So if you see people out, that would be nothing happening other than them counting and doing the survey of the trees. The DTE is separate.
Moving away from the trees a little bit, is there plans to solarize the units here? Like especially the new ones? Was the city encouraging that, or?
Not solar. Like, it was something they mentioned, but it wasn't like a big push for solar. It was just a big push for more recyclable materials and just green things.
Can you just go
Utilities.
forward to the picture, the view from Packard? I know it's just an artist's impression, but it implies the ground, the first floor is going to be level with Packard. And at the moment, the land out there is some 15 feet above Packard. So are you going to like lower the ground down to build? I'm trying to understand the heights that these things are going to be.
Right.
So it steps down. So these units at the end are slightly lower than this one because this ground slopes down.
Right.
Yeah.
We understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using the current utility lines for this complex, or are you going to have to tap into new lines, and that might impact those people that live in Amber Way, impact our sewage, our water, our electrical, our cable for that?
So
Because I work from home, and trust me, you do not want to touch my internet, because I will be extremely upset.
We'll be connected into the existing utilities that are on this site.
Okay.
So do you have any idea how hot, so, I don't think the question was answered, are you going to go from the ground level, or are you going to go down? We're trying to find out the height of the units right where the gardens are.
The height, I don't know the exact number. I think the height of the building itself is going to be between 35 and 40 feet, which is about the same as the existing buildings that are on this property. And that'll be going from the grade as it is now. It slopes down a little bit towards the south end of the site, but it's going from the grade.
I think that was the question: is will there be any regrading, or will it be as it is?
There will be some regrading, but not extensive.
Yeah.
For a project like this to be done.
Okay.
I'm not
We're
sure
not
if you're
trying to
familiar
do
with this
much
area, but there has been issues with irrigation problems on, and that's another concern. If you're moving the ground and resurfacing, how that is gonna impact our street and maybe, pooling of water and so forth. Have you guys looked into that into the study?
So yes, we looked at drainage on site and
But not just on site, but just surrounding areas that could be potentially impacted.
so we can only control what's on our site, but we're not going to be sending additional water off site onto other people's property.
So how do you know that for sure?
With grading and elevation change and storm sewer.
I think we've all had problems though because the retention pond isn't well maintained and it floods over the road out there, and we all have problems with water backing up and everything. So I think that's only going to get worse, isn't it? You don't seem to be addressing that.
So we're actually putting in an underground detention system adjacent to the existing pond that would be under the parking that would detain for the additional runoff created by this development.
Is there any way that you can guarantee that, let's say you do this and there is some issues with our property, that you will have either a fund or something that will address that later on down the road?
Do you have water in your basement yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, we're lucky,
Okay.
but we don't want it. So we would like for there to be some type of fund in which the developer puts money for potential causes of issues that might arise in the future, that we can't predict right now.
Understood, that'd be a little atypical, but you could definitely put that on the note and we'll pass that on to the city.
Yes, well, good question.
Yes.
Just how many people are housed in the present development?
That would be a question for property manager.
We have 134 units currently of 2 and 3 bedrooms. 125 2-bedroom units and 9 3-bedrooms.
Follow-up question for you, what's the population, dinks, students, retirees?
Due to fair housing, we can't specify.
Okay, so, but it's gonna be mixed use, like not predominant?
It's whoever applies and qualifies
Okay.
is our standard, so whoever puts in an application with us, meets our standards, is allowed to live here.
Is there a scale drawing online?
None online.
No? Or is there gonna be one?
Yes, there will be.
After this meeting, when we formally submit the plans, it'll be on the city's website.
Okay.
With the new parking lot, will it be water absorbed asphalt that you're putting down? Or will it just be?
It will not.
Okay.
Water absorbent asphalt is great in theory, but we found in practice it doesn't work very well.
That's what I've been reading, so I was just curious about it.
I see what's the first question. How many extra people will this develop?
So this adds 18 or 19 units to the existing 136. Yes, 19 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units.
And occupancy will be similar to what you have now.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
In other words, the number of apartments that are living.
Yeah, that would be a property manager.
What's the question?
So when we add these units, it's expected that they're filling at the same rate as the existing units and occupied at the same, I would imagine.
I mean, we have set occupancy standards that have to be abided by, but that's a, I mean, whether, I think our current occupancy standards are 2 people per bedroom plus an extra. So a 2-bedroom, we're allowed to accommodate 5 people. That's, I can't, we wouldn't be able to say who's moving in and.
But all these people you're going to move in and out daily. What are the traffic patterns? And what's the impact of this size of increase?
So
Honestly, I don't know.
I can answer that. So part of that is, the city doesn't have a requirement for new parking because they want to reduce cars, which I think everyone is in favor of. So they're really encouraging biking and busing, and that's what makes this site really good for that because it's on a bus line and it's so close to downtown. So you can see by the site itself, we're only adding, I think it's 9 parking spaces. So with that being said,
Only adding 9 parking places?
Okay, but there's only 19 units total. So they're only adding 19 units, they're adding 9 parking spaces, but there's already so many parking spaces here.
Yeah, we're adding 9 to the existing parking.
So that's, I don't think the parking is going, well, who am I to say? It's a question of having the 19 units, but it seems like there's sufficient parking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always empty spaces. I could be completely wrong, I know.
There's not tons in front of my place though.
One end.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Can you say that one more time?
Do they all come in at
All
one end?
these people come in and leave at probably similar times of day. And you're going to do it at once.
Like in the same entrance you're talking?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be using the same entrance to the complex.
So,
Yes, this one right here.
so that is the total number of cars.
So because we have looked at the generated traffic numbers, and because of we're only adding 18 units, it doesn't qualify for a full traffic study. But the number of trip generations is very, very low, because we only have these 9 spaces, so it's only 9 more cars at most.
That's not.
How are you
For
going to
100
assume
for,
though,
yeah, for two, you
that
say 2
people have
drivers.
a bicycle and not want a car? That sounds really funny to me.
The city's pushing for
But
less parking.
that's a city council issue.
Yeah.
But you already have extra parking on this site,
Yeah.
so
So it's,
they already can have 2 parking spaces.
I
There's certainly
remind you of
spaces
the
over here.
promise of recycling made in this
People
city.
have company, don't, does anyone else have company or no?
bring it up with the city
single
council.
thoughts, and it never happened. In fact, that was my last story. The Ann Arbor News carried.
What?
That recycling would occur. And it turned out that the means of recycling they were talking about never was funded.
What's that got to do with this building?
They're making promises of what the city will do in the future. And we know that you can't
I was gonna say we didn't make those promises. The city did.
Is that outside the scope of what we're talking about here?
I think it is, yes.
Okay. What about the turtles? Is anybody worried about the turtles?
Not the city. of Ann Arbor.
Nobody's worried about the turtles.
The city should.
We got a great turtle population out there, man.
Yeah, but nothing's.
That's
being
nothing,
built
they're
around
not
it.
doing anything over in that
Yeah,
area.
you
So-
say that- yeah, they will.
Turtles won't be
I
outside.
don't know.
Well,
they have
I
turtles.
mean, I think they would be, but,
No, just a little.
I mean,
Who knows what all the outside turtles?
no, I'm not. Yeah.
No, 30 feet far away, so like at the moment, yeah.
I'm joking, people. Okay.
Yeah, you talk about salmon.
Salmon.
What's the sticks out where it will be?
Some rando guy driving around Ann Arbor, like, this is a good spot.
That was a good determination of
This is-
Where did this?
Because you can't really visualize.
This is, Heyman would reach out to us. Yeah, to this.
Well, they're voting.
It is.
They're voting.
What was that?
Kind of tower, being darkness.
The Heyman company wanted to add the building to the end of their parcel.
Yeah, they should.
That's who the property manager is.
Are they doing this all over Ann Arbor?
The Heyman company?
Trees that sunset all the wildlife,
No.
all the deer that live back there.
They manage this property, they don't manage all of the other properties.
No. You said that they were the top property.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was almost.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
That was unsubstantiated.
You guys get paid extra for showing up to these meetings?
No.
You're doing a beautiful.
Maybe have Liberty.
Well, it's part of a normal week of hours. I don't work overtime to do
You're
it.
not into overtime? Okay.
So can you just clarify what the next steps are?
So after this, we have to submit a formal submission to the city. After we review the comments that were from this meeting and in the box and everything, we'll go back as a team and review and try to work with them as best as we can to accommodate as many as we can within reason. We'll submit to the city and then they have to go through their formal approval process. It has to be heard before the city and everything, and once it's approved, then this is for site plan approval. Once it's approved, then we go in for a full permit and submit construction drawings, and then it will go out for bid, and then it will be under construction.
Do you know if the city would be advising, like they advised all of us, at least I got a postcard telling me about this meeting because I live within 1,000 feet. Do you know if there will be further contact to let us know as this goes along? Or is that again outside of your purview?
I don't know if there will be notices, but it will be on the city's website in their agendas and their meeting minutes and everything as to what they're reviewing and when it's going through the steps of the process.
It'll go to the city planning committee, and people who are going to be affected will be notified of the planning committee meeting. So we have an opportunity to go there and make comments.
Ask about
And just clarify, are these questions and comments going to you or to the city or both?
They're coming to us and we'll review them as a team between the property manager, architect, civil engineer.
Okay.
And then as we'll incorporate those into our submission with the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The city requires a full list of all of the comments that we get, so that'll all be passed
So
on.
how can we trust you to fairly represent our comments
Yeah.
to the city when it's not in your best interest?
So that's why on the thing, if you want put your name and your email, we can look through them and then we can issue a response if it's requested. And we can respond directly to you as to what we're gonna do regarding certain claims.
Is there another method that where we can contact the city directly? and not
Yeah,
have to go through you?
you're a city council person.
Yeah.
But is there gonna be another meeting with the city that we can then voice our concerns?
Yeah, so he actually was
Before-
saying there's a
okay.
planning commission meeting that would be held.
How about Haman? Because it sounds like they started this and, you know, they're extremely powerful in this town. How can we contact our feelings to Haman, that was the genesis of the whole project?
So I oversee the on-site team. Liz, maybe you have Liz works with our corporate team. Is there a best way that we can go about that?
I
or-
mean, I think it should go through these comments and we can handle it that way.
Well, that's hoping, but they have a lot of lawyers' power in this town, right? What percent of apartments are owned by Haman in the town?
Heman doesn't own anything.
Well,
Heman
well,
manages,
wrong, yeah.
and some properties are, you know, I couldn't give you a number of units in the city of Ann Arbor, but again, they don't own them. We don't have any
You have a horse in the race, though. The horse is in there. The horse is in this race, or they wouldn't ask for this piece.
If you Google it, you get their contact information.
Oh, okay.
Who owns the property? Who's the actual asset? Who's the
They
company
talk-
that owns this?
It's an LLC.
And
It's-
the LLC is what?
Ponds, Michigan LLC,
And who owns that LLC?
an investor group.
Pardon?
An investor group, local,
An local investor group?
Michigan-based, yes.
What's the name of the investor group, please?
I don't have that information.
It would be on the LLC. I'm co-owner of an LLC, so the information is public, so you'll be able to find it.
Most LLCs are actually, do not have the owner, they have the person as the registered agent, but they don't have the person who's owning them.
But that gives you the contact to go further.
So it would be useful for, I think, tenants here to understand who actually owns the places that they live in and where they're paying rent.
Okay, I will make that noted. But I do think if you have comments for Heman, I would suggest and recommend that you put them here. Heman will be going through this with DesignTeam Plus and Atwell to kind of finalize the submission. And if we have any specific questions or that you guys want us to address, we can address them that way too.
So, sorry to go back to the zoning, but that zoning doesn't impact here right now, where we're sitting, the zoning here, does it? So,
Like the rezone of down there.
yeah,
So the whole thing will be rezoned, but nothing on this property will be like changed or altered.
well, not now, but in the future. And what is to stop if this is the same zone, let's say it's a high rise down the street, what is to stop them from building a high rise here? If it's rezoned to allow for that.
You're right. There is nothing that does.
Yeah.
That would be in the hands of
City council.
who, yeah.
Well, if it's zoned,
Has the
then they
jurisdiction
should
to
have the
approve it.
authority, they
So-
should have the
Seems
right
like
to
in the high
build what
rise
they
is
want,
like a tree.
right?
The planning commission and the city council can implement rezoning conditions.
Elect them out.
So if there's something that you want to see there, I would reach out to the city council and to planning commission and say, you know, if you're gonna let this be rezoned, you should put on certain conditions for future development.
Yeah. So will there still be a dog park?
No, the dog park is getting removed.
This is Ann Arbor. There's more dogs than people.
And turtles apparently.
They line up on the branches over the road.
So are you able to say anything about when the initial property was developed, was that space left green as part of the agreement to develop the space? Is that something that was mandated in the original site development plan for open space?
What, the dog park?
No, the entire piece that's open. Just trying to understand what the understanding was between the city and the developer when the property was first created and developed. It sounds like it wasn't able to be developed at that time, is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's hard to say what the original development agreement was.
Okay.
You know, I know as part of that, there was that park dedication back there, that was part of the original development, I know. And an agreement to leave the pond untouched and everything.
Okay.
But as far as if that specifically area was designated.
So no covenants that you're aware of?
Thank you.
Oh, so, if this got rezoned like that, then they could come in eventually, close up that pond and build a high rise or build more. What's
The pond still
to
won't.
stop them? It's gonna be rezoned to that's okay, right? Did I understand that?
No, not the
You said-
pond.
Well, not the retention, I'm talking about the big pond. What's to stop them from just wanting to build there? That pond could be.
There are a lot of state and city regulations that wouldn't.
It's a
wouldn't allow
man-made
that.
pond, I think, though.
After a certain point, it becomes protected.
I trust that, I trust their building.
I mean, I think this is where you have to start making your feelings known to city council. They're
Yeah.
pushing for density, they're pushing for a reduction in cars, and they're gonna continue to do it. I mean, that, there are bike lanes everywhere, you know.
Not here though, because I stopped riding my bike because I did get hit.
Well, I mean,
But
that's,
I lived, I thought, oh, I
Right.
worked at the hospital, not very far.
Well, yeah, have you been downtown
Gently.
lately?
yeah, I know,
Talk
that's what
about
I'm saying.
As a
You
biker,
have to,
they're
you have to,
wonderful.
we have
Yeah.
to keep talking to city council because I know for a fact that they're ignoring some of the city planning commission's recommendations and voting on buildings. So we have to keep talking to city council if we want further projects not to go, because these guys are just doing their job. They can't help what they're being asked to do. They're just presenting it to us. We have to keep talking to city council.
The planning commission, I will say, does tend to also be in favor of development currently. Just.
Well,
if
no,
you
I
want- if
know,
you wanna voice your
but
opinion,
there, I
someone
mean,
else
there's
too.
a project over by South Forest behind the 80 Pie House that the city planning commission voted against, and the city council voted to move it forward,
Understood.
so.
Just general, how is this supposed to increase our property value or better us? So,
It does.
I understand
Yeah.
how it betters the investors, but how is
Yeah.
it improving us and our community?
It won't.
Yeah.
It won't.
Well,
2 years of aggravation.
That would be a question for like Heyman and how it increases the value for the property itself. Like we're adding, like for us, we're adding obviously more buildings, like newer units, things like that, and renewable materials. But as far as value to the property itself, that's you know, how Heyman sees it as valuable to them.
Right. I think he means his personal property on Amber Way.
exactly, my,
With the
and
huge,
property
you know,
and my
property
life,
you
my
buy out.
lifestyle, how is this benefiting?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I would want to know.
More people, more friends to make.
More jobs for your job.
Maybe the lower property tax.
Yeah.
It was we get private parking, so that was. So what we should do is see if we can get the city to put a little dog park.
In our park.
Mhm.
Should.
That would be the
Good
next.
compromise.
That would be, because, not that I have a dog,
So,
but I do love
do you
them.
have anything else?
I have a cool.
Especially since they want to build during the time of tariffs. Isn't lumber on the tariff thing?
Oh, honey,
Beware.
you're way out there.
So now the rent's gonna be like this, because they're gonna be, well, you know, the lumber, it was 2025, you guys. I can already hear it in my ears.
Okay. Did y'all have more for us?
No, that's all we have to present. So if you guys have any other questions or you want to leave more in the box for us to take, that's all we have for you.